Good morning guys, and welcome to Motorsport and Dream Cars. My name's Damien and I'm going to take you on a bit of a unique ride in this 2019 Toyota Corolla Hatch. Now before we get going, this is the 1.8 hybrid. Now to get going, we've got a key. Don't need that. That can just go in one of the little cup holders down there. So foot on the brake, you won't do anything otherwise, and press the button, everything springs into life. So we've got the infotainment system just coming on. Continue, possibly. There we go. So we've got this lovely TFT in front of us. So let's take this thing on a bit of a drive, have a chat and see what this brand new car is all about. So we've got a reversing camera just here, although it's covered in mud. It's been horrible weather today, so it's about normal. Put it into D and we're going to get going. So it's very quiet at the moment. We're just in electric. Let's turn around because we don't want to be going up a one-way street. So let's get going and see what this car is really like. So we're in EV only mode. We'll change this setting over here so we can actually see what's going on, because a lot of the time it's very difficult to actually tell what is happening. You can actually change various settings on there. So let's get going in this car and see what it's all about. We're running in, could be electric, could be petrol, not sure. So over here we've got the infotainment system, but you can press that. That's probably the most interesting for us because we've all seen sat navs and radios, so we'll leave it on here. And as you can probably see, we've got the battery at the back, so it's about half charged. We've got the electric motor in the middle, petrol at the front, and this arrow here will say where the energy is coming from. So we might be on a hill at the moment, but you can see we're just running on electric, so it's very quiet. And then we've kicked over, so you've got the red, so that means the electric and petrol are working together. If we look at the dash in front of me, we've got there, if you can see it, there's a speed limit, and the camera on the front actually reads the speed limit signs and will tell you what the speed is, and it will start binging at you if you're driving too quickly, which is good. Toyota have always been very good at their safety features, and we'll have a look at some of those in a minute. But this is the beautiful town of Lewis. And towns are really where this car is very well sorted. Suited even. You can see we're just running on electric, so no horrible CO2 gases coming out of this car. Although it's eerily quiet, and people like that don't hear the car and step out in front of you. But it's not a bad engine at all. This is the 1.8. Producing 122 brake horsepower. We do 60 in 10.9 seconds. Now, it's not quick by any stretch of the imagination. It's not even designed to be quick. The 2 litre is considerably quicker than this. It does 60 in 7.9. But you've got the two options. If you want something that is fuel efficient, if that's your top priority, you go for the 1.8. Or if you want something a bit more spirited and a bit more exciting, go for the 2 litre. 2 litre as well actually comes with paddles up on the steering wheel. Now the gearbox in this, I don't think you actually call it a gearbox because there are no gears. It uses something called a CVT. But you don't need to worry too much about what it is or how it works. All you need to know is it's a bit like an automatic. You've got an accelerator and a brake. That's about it really. down here I can actually change over. If you look down here, you've got an EV button, so I can press that. EV will come up on the dash just down here, and that means as far as the car can, it will just use the electric motor, and that's perfect for when you're crawling around town, because stop start in a petrol is where you consume a huge amount of fuel, so you can leave that in EV mode. So we'll turn that off for the minute and we'll have a look at the different driving styles. So you've got 3 different, and that's with a toggle down here, drive mode. So to start with, you can see we're on Eco, nice blue. Go normal and still in blue, and then it goes into red. As I was saying, it's not really a sports car. It doesn't want to be driven like that. It doesn't feel like you really want to push on. It handles well, it feels good, and it's certainly more of a driver's car than any model before it. But I'd have to drive the 2 litre in order to see whether it's a bit more enjoyable. This car doesn't, it's hard to explain, it doesn't want to be driven hard. It's not that sort of car. The gearbox doesn't really lend itself to really pushing on, but if you do need to get out of a junction quite quickly, it will do that. The electric motor has got lots of torque. It's 163 foot-pound, and that's available from 0 RPM. If you haven't driven something with an electric motor, it's a bit of an experience to do. So what I'll do, I'll put it in sports and I'll be quiet just for a minute, and then I'll put my foot down. So just got into a 50. So that's 50. It's not slow, but it doesn't make a noise particularly either. It's just wants to be waft along and do what it's supposed to very well. If you look down here, so we can just talk about some of this a bit more. You've got controls for all the air conditioning. Again, they're nice physical buttons. I do like a good physical button for some reason. Maybe that's just me. Left hand side on this infotainment system, so you've got home, menu, audio and map, and you can program everything in there. So you've got a search. You can actually do voice control on that. Let's go back home. So this is nothing particularly amazing. It works. I wouldn't say it's the best infotainment system I've ever used. It does everything very well. It's efficient, I'd say, more than particularly groundbreaking. The visibility out the front is very good. They've actually dropped the height of the windscreen down by 44 millimeters, I think it is, so it makes it a bit more airy. Got these nice glass see-through bits on this side down this corner. A lot of the time they'll be sort of blanked off in other cars I've driven, not of Corolla but just in general. But it's a very nice place to be in here. It's comfy. This has got the sports seats, so they've got nice bolsters in the side. Over here, that's part leather, part fabric, and then you've got lots of controls down the side for height and tilt and lumbar support, so that's perfect. Steering wheel as well, that's got tilt and rake adjust, so you can get nice and comfy. If we look at the steering wheel, generally it's the same sort of thing. You've got voice control, got control of some of the infotainment system, and over the other side you've got ways of turning off some of the safety features. So the collision detection on the front, you can turn that off. Lane assist, you can turn that off. And then also over this side it sets cruise control. Under here we've got a funky button which is for automatic parking. I've had a go at that and that seems to work really well. Just use your controls. You can actually lock the rear windows. It's a bit strange though, because if you lock the rear windows, you also lock your passenger, so you can keep them locked in here forever. You've got dual climate control, turn that on. So we'll leave it at a nice 20 degrees at the moment. It's getting a bit warm in here without it on, but generally this is doing everything I want it to. It feels a very well finished product. Everywhere, all the touch points in this car are nice. The steering wheel feels good. You've got like this sort of leathery type feel across here. I love the stitching you've got. It just gives a bit more character, a bit more sort of shape to it, and it's certainly got what Toyota were hoping. They said they wanted dynamic styling, and I think this is dynamic styling. It looks funky whichever way you put it, and it's such a departure from the previous generations of Toyota Corolla that it's got no resemblance at all. Well, I don't think it has. It brings it more into range of maybe a younger person might want this car now. The other ones they're very sensible, is probably the way of putting it. They did everything they needed to very well. It's a bit like Magnolia paint of cars. Did everything it needed to, but wasn't very inspiring. Toyota even admitted that, although they didn't say it was like Magnolia paint. I don't think they did anyway. I don't think that came out in the press release. And this is really a perfect example of how this car should be used. You've got other manufacturers, you have the plug-in hybrids, and that means you go home or a charging station, pop it in the wall and then wait 8 hours at home, for example, or 3.5, 4 hours at a quick charge station. Toyota have gone away completely from plug-in hybrids. They obviously don't feel it's the future, and I'm finding it to be probably a better proposition at the moment. I don't have to worry about plugging in anywhere. Admittedly, plug-in hybrids will do the regenerative braking and charging in the same way as this, but this at the moment does seem better. And also with me, for a plug-in hybrid, really need to charge it in order to get the maximum MPG out of it. And where I live, I don't have a driveway. I can't park the car in a position where I can charge it. I'd have to park up on one side of the road and run an extension cable across the road. That's just, it's not viable for someone in my position. Not saying they're bad at all, but just wouldn't fit what I'd want out of a car, unfortunately. But this is really good. We've gone into a mixture of both electric and petrol. We're actually charging the battery. Once it gets to a certain point, it will automatically switch over. So if you haven't charged it enough, it will go back over. So I'm nearing the end of my journey. Hopefully you've enjoyed this point of view experience and got a bit more of an idea about what the Toyota Corolla is all about. If you give Toyota in Uckfield a ring and have a chat with them, go and have a look at the car, take it out for a test drive, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about how good this car is. And on that note, guys, I'm going to call this video to a close. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome, and remember to click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.